Welcome to You're Doing It Wrong channel. Today I'm going to talk about immutable Linux distributions, as this is a follow-on from the Windows 10 end of life. What should you do with your Windows 10 computer that was no longer supported by Microsoft? We'll look at what is an immutable system and why you might want to go to it. Support us by visiting ydiw.myspreadshop.com. Link below. We really appreciate your support. Right, so what is an immutable system, an immutable operating system? Basically, you're taking the operating system layer and securing it and making it read-only so that your users or administrators don't have access to it. Typically in a Windows or standard Linux system, if you have administrator access or root access, you can change the underlying operating system files and make customizations. That could be good or could be bad depending on how you view things in the sense of security and malware. You don't want that malware to be able to basically make changes to the underlying operating system and be able to survive a reboot. So there are immutable systems out there, and you're probably using one on your mobile phone. Android and iOS are both immutable systems. Or in the early days of Android and iOS, people used to root or jailbreak their phones because there was features in the operating system that they felt they were missing or lacking. But in the most recent versions, the need to jailbreak or the need to root a phone is becoming less and less, and most people don't even bother. There's very little benefit these days as the operating systems have gotten more advanced and better APIs to support advanced features. So there's a history of this, but there's also a history of immutable systems in the Windows side, and this was usually achieved by using Citrix Zen Desktop, where you had a secure read-only image that was loaded every time that the virtual machine was booted and the users logged in to it. They would just get their user settings and files that got loaded on top. But every time you rebooted the system, if they tried to make changes to the system, it would just it would be lost because it just read a clean version of that image every time. So what are the advantages of an immutable operating system? One is you have better stability, better reliability across all the installations. So you know that if you've loaded it on a few different systems, that every system should basically be the same. You shouldn't have any problems between one or the other because the operating system image it's all one, it's all the same. So as that image gets released, the whole OS image gets updated and makes rollbacks in case there is a problem with an update or something, that you can roll back to the previous image really easily and less chance for corruption to happen with those updates as well. Security, obviously, security malware, it won't be able to get into the operating system level, so you should be able to reboot. And if it was installed in an app, you just remove that app and it'll be gone. So there's no persistence for the malware if you remove it from the user space. It also makes systems easier to manage, especially if you've got friends and family that are not power users or you're their tech support. Having an immutable system, you just basically tell them to reboot like their phone, and it usually fixes most things. So the support calls and having some family members move to Chromebook has definitely gone down. And I think you'll find the same with other Linux distributions. Linux itself can be a bit overwhelming, and the updates actually a bit overwhelming. That's probably one of the biggest drawbacks to Linux going that way is failed updates a lot of times. With an immutable system, that just makes that so much easier. So there are a couple of distributions in Linux that have gone this way, and they're still in kind of the early days of maturity, but they are quickly moving fast. We'll look at Fedora's Silverblue, as well as OpenSUSE's MicroOS. But there's also a third one I think that should be looked at, and that's Chrome OS Flex. If you're a Google user, you basically turn your computer into a Chromebook, and it's a great thing, especially for those Google Drive users. It's a nice option. If you want a little bit more freedom, you may want to go the Linux route. So we'll check out the installation of those two. One of the differences is OpenSUSE has a couple of flavors. In their MicroOS, they have Kalpa, which is built into their MicroOS installation CD. That's based on the Cade Plasma desktop environment. So with Linux, you have two main desktop environments, GNOME and Cade Plasma. For power users, usually want to go Cade Plasma. There's a lot more customization you can do with it, as well as it kind of looks more like Windows for those that are coming over from it. GNOME is more of a touch-friendly interface, has bigger icons, and more that's maybe sort of Mac OS type feel versus Windows. In the immutable space, though, as you'll see in a little bit, I find that GNOME is probably built better for this. And one of the reasons why is if its online account integration is much better in GNOME, much more up to date than Cade Plasma's. With new passkeys, the Cade Plasma online account integration doesn't really work with Google's new passkey setup and multi-factor setup. So that's something that I'm hoping Cade Plasma will be able to pull the GNOME online accounts manager into it and update how that works. But so for now, I would definitely recommend GNOME. If you need to integrate Google Drive or OneDrive into the file manager, and you want all your apps to be able to see those the files on those drives. But yeah, let's jump into setting one up. I have put a couple of these on a virtual machine using Zen Orchestra on a XCP-ng server. Some of the things I've found on installing these immutable distributions is that the installation takes a little bit longer than a normal Linux installation. It's normal Linux installation, I probably could get it in 5 to 10 minutes. And immutable one's probably 15 to 20. I think the reason is probably all the verification steps that it does to make sure that when it copies over the operating system image, that it is exactly as it should be, and there's no corruption, and then it creates that snapshot to make sure that you can always roll back. So we see here the OpenSUSE installation wizard. It's pretty easy to go through. We'll choose, the Cade Plasma version of the MicroOS. MicroOS was originally developed for containers, sort of Docker containers, but you can run the desktop through it. Alpha is a separate distribution. Aeon's a separate distribution now, instead of in the MicroOS ISO. I might look at that one soon when it gets released. It's still in beta. This is also an alpha, but we go here. This has us creating a new user. If you want to use the same password for the system administrator, you can click the box. If you want separate passwords between your user account and the administrator account, you can not check that and just proceed to create a new password for the root user. That's probably advised, but you have to make that decision on your own. You can go through here and make any changes to the installation that you want. It will just prepare the disk as needed. That's the really nice thing. The OpenSUSE automatically prepares the disk the way that it needs to. And here we see it's installing packages. And like I said, this took probably a little bit longer, and the whole installation and first boot took a little bit longer than a normal Linux install, but still not too bad. In 15 minutes, you should be up and running, somewhere around there. First boot will install a few applications, and then you can adjust your time and date settings, and as well go into the Cade Discover to find all your apps. Again, these apps are using Flatpak, which basically is a containerized version of the application, so everything is in its own sandbox. This is, again, very similar to how iOS and Android apps are delivered. For the most part, most applications you won't need to install them in the base OS. There may be some applications that don't quite work as well. Might missing some of the features because of the Flatpak version versus the OS version, but this is quickly becoming less and less of a problem. If you want some cool Linux apps, I suggest you look at OnlyOffice for the productivity suite. Obsidian is a great note-taking app, I suggest. And yeah, the Cade, Krita and Kdenlive multimedia apps are really nice. SpeedCrunch for calculator. I'll put a list of some of the cool apps that I end up using, and all your browsers are there, Brave and Chrome, as needed. If we move over to Silverblue installation, it's wizard. It might take a couple minutes to start up. It's wizard. You have to go in here and do the manual partition settings for your hard drive. It does have an automatic configuration, but again, you have to go and click in there. You can set to encrypt your data if you would like that, but otherwise it's a pretty simple wizard. It took maybe 15 minutes or so to write everything. It seems to use more CPU power during this installation than a non-immutable installation. Again, probably checking all the hashes, that everything's copied over correctly, and setting up the image. and the snapshot. First boot, you'll pop into a setup screen for GNOME and Silver Blue. You can choose your privacy settings. And if you want to enable third-party repositories for applications, in most of the applications you'll be getting are Flatpaks. Here you'll set up your user account and password, and now you start using Fedora Silver Blue. There's a little tour if you want. Again, this is much nicer for touchpads. There's a better integration for that type of stuff with GNOME than there is for Cade Plasma. This took a few minutes to, if I go into software updates, it took several minutes for it to basically load all the updates and all the apps in there. Once I waited for that and did a update of the system and a reboot, then all of the apps were able to be browsed and installed using the GNOME App Store. And if we look in at the settings here, you can see the online accounts. You can integrate with Google accounts, Microsoft 365 accounts, Nextcloud, and others to have your files and contacts available into the other apps that you might need. So that's a great integration with GNOME. Again, if you're a Google user, you might want to look at Chrome OS Flex. Unfortunately, their installer does not allow me to install this in a virtual machine. It wants to do it on the bare hardware, so I couldn't do that. Can't show that to you right now. I might try and navigate that one later on for another video. But let me know what you think. That's Immutable Distributions in Linux. Thanks for watching.